Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be going over the hardest tournament of the year to win, and that is going to be Battle of BC5. This is a P tier event, the last one of the season, and you got pretty much everyone here. For our top 16 seeds you have Big D, Kameme, Ked, and Dabuz in 13th, Yoshidora, Onin, Shuton, and Gluttony in 9th. In 7th you have both Riddles and Sonics. 5th you have Light and Mia. 4th you have Leo. 3rd Tweak. 2nd Spargo. And 1st is Akala. And we're going to be doing a little bit of a different format for this video because I just have so many sets that I want to talk about. So we're not going to be looking at any specific runs until we start getting to the top 24 area. But for winners round 2, our first matchup is going to be Akala versus Dark Wizzy. And you're going to favor Akala here. You know, he is like the best player in the world, top 4 at worst. And Dark Wizzy, while he is still very good and he could reignite that 2019-2020 era of Dark Wizzy in this set, and if he does that, he could definitely win, but it is not likely, and you're definitely going to want to favor Akala there. It's also just a good matchup for Steve. Then you have Dabuz versus Yara, and I'm going to favor Dabuz. You know, I'm just going with the seeding so far, but he has Olimar and he has Rosalina. Both are great matchups, and also, I don't know how much experience Yara has necessarily versus a Rosalina of Dabuz's calibers. Like, there is Rosalinas in Japan. They're not like Dabuz. Dabuz is very good versus Samus, so I'm going to favor Dabuz there, but also Yara beat Spargo last weekend. We know he can literally beat anyone in the world. Well, not last weekend at this point, but at Kagaribi, so that is not an impossible upset, but I'm going to have Dabuz there. For Riddle Siski, Riddles used to lose to Samus players a lot. And then he decided that he's not going to do that anymore. And I imagine that trend is going to continue. Maybe we see flashes of it though. You know, Siski has beaten him in the past, but I'm definitely going to favor Riddles there. Yoshidora versus Cosmos. Now, this is a pretty interesting one because I don't really know how Yoshidora is going to do at this tournament. I am going to favor him here, though, just because I know for a fact that Yoshidora has more experience in the Aegis matchup than Cosmos does in the Yoshi matchup, but also Aegis might just be able to stuff out Yoshi. You know, Cosmos' Aegis is very good, so it's not a crazy matchup that's unwinnable for Cosmos, but he probably isn't going to be ready for Yoshidora's style of Yoshi. I mean, just for Yoshi in general, that character is super uncommon despite being amazing. Then you have MK, Leo, and Ouch, and as much as I love Ouch, it is really hard to bet against Leo here. If I had to guess which characters it would be, it'd probably be Wolf Aegis. Seems like Leo is going to be full investing into the Aegis at this point. So again, it's not impossible, but you're definitely going to want to favor Leo there. He's a top 4 player in the world. Then you have Ken Zomba. I'll go with the first upside. I'm just kind of picking what the seeding has. But for Ken Zomba, you're going to super favor Zomba there because he has a 3-0 record versus Ken. So he does very well versus Japanese players. And now he's on home soil where he does even better. Though Ken is the defending champion of Battle of BC. You know, he won Battle of BC 4. Maybe he's got that tournament buff, and he's definitely going to need it if he's going to beat Zomba. Then you have Mia versus Cola. Now, Cola actually has a very good record versus Meister, but I'm still going to bet Mia because, again, they are different players, and Mia has just been on such an insane upswing lately that it's really difficult for me to bet against him. But if Cola did get that upset, I honestly wouldn't be like crazy surprised, but yeah, I am going to go Mia there. And finally, you have Onin and Apollo Kage. Now, these guys have played before. Apollo Kage has taken one set, but it is in Onin's favor, and I'm going to bet Onin again because I think he's going to come back hitting hard this tournament. I think he's going to farm. I think he's definitely going to get top 8. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I'm going to guess Onin for that one. Next up, we have the winners quarters before top 24, by the way. Our first matchup being Akala and Dabuz, and I'm actually going to go with Dabuz here because he has only played Akala once. It was at Ultimate Summit 5, and he won. Now, he lost the tiebreakers immediately after, and just because he won the last set in the first encounter doesn't mean that you're going to guaranteed win again. But the way Dabuz was playing at Kagaribi, I am back on the Dabuz train because he looked out of his mind at that tournament. And even though Akala did overperform him there, I still have faith in Dabuz. I think he's playing really well. If he can keep that momentum into this week, he could absolutely farm. And again, the matchup, it is in his favor. He's very good versus Steve. I believe in Dabuz to make that big upset. And then you have Riddles versus Yoshidora. Now, Riddles actually does have a decent amount of experience versus Yoshi. He's played against Burst a lot. I think it's 17-5 in his favor or something like that. But Yoshidora is built different. He just does things that no other Yoshi player is doing, so Riddles might not necessarily be ready, but he at least should have the basic fundamentals down of knowing how to deal with certain spacings, knowing what's safe, what's not safe, what you can get away with, all that kind of stuff. So at least he's not going to be figuring out Yoshi as much as he has to figure out Yoshidora, which is still an incredibly difficult task to do, but I think Riddles can handle it. Then you would have MK Leo versus Ken, or as we predicted, MK Leo versus Zomba, but I'm going to be favoring him for both those matchups. For Ken, I don't know if it's going to be Aegis or if it's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be Sonic or Sephiroth. It's definitely going to be Aegis from Leo. I think he's going to go full Aegis this tournament. At least that'd be my guess. Maybe we see a secondary Byleth or a secondary Joker, but I think Aegis will definitely be the mainstay. And for Ken, that's not really a great matchup going into that. You know, Shuton typically does pretty well there. If I had to guess, it'd probably be Sephiroth because that's one of the few matchups that Sonic actually doesn't do amazing yet, and Sephiroth doesn't do amazing either, but hey, I'm going to guess Leo for that one. And same thing versus Zomb. I think Leo is really, really good versus Rob. Like, I think MK Big Boss is his static training partner. And then finally, you have Mia versus Onin. And based off the last time they played, it was destruction from Mia. He absolutely rolled Onin, and he's also been able to take sets off Aquila recently. And again, two very different styles of Steve. Maybe we'll see Onin even adapt Aquila's style of Steve because it does have more success. Even though Mia has beaten Aquila, Aquila still consistently wins, and we saw Aquila do this to Leo at Ultimate Summon. He just played like Onin did, and he was able to beat Leo. Maybe we can see Onin play like Aquila did and is able to beat Mia, but I'm going to guess that Mia takes that set. And on the other side of bracket for winners round 2, our first matchup is Spargo versus Luigi. And I gotta say, this is probably the worst draw that Luigi could got because Spargo has a ton of practice versus Wako, who's either the best Luigi in the world or the second best Luigi, and then Luigi would probably be the other one. And it's Cloud Luigi. It's a terrible matchup. Spargo is super experienced in it. It's just a really bad draw. But hey, maybe, you know what? He's on the Canadian home soil, back to his roots. Maybe he gets the upset. But it's definitely not looking in his favor. Then you have Kameme versus Mudes. Now, I would probably favor Kameme in this matchup. It's two floaty characters. It's a little bit weird. The only times they played, Kameme was able to take it, but it was at a local, so you can't put like a ton of validity on that. The context is definitely different. I'm going to say that Kameme does take it though, but Mudes, he looked really strong at Low Tide City. If he can carry that momentum going into this weekend, he definitely can make the upset, but he's just going to have to work very hard. But also, he's playing Peach. He's always going to be having to work hard. Then you have Sonics versus MK Big Boss. Now, this is a pretty interesting one because on paper, you should be guessing Sonics here is the top 7 player in the world. But MK Big Boss, he's been on the upswing, and he actually beat Sonics the last time they played at Let's Make Big Moves. So you might want to go with MK Big Boss. I'm still going to go with Sonics because I just morally cannot bet against this man. He's too good. But I definitely think that's an upset that MK Big Boss could repeat. He's done in the past. There's no reason that he can't do it again. Then you have Shuton versus Skyjay. Now, this one's a little bit interesting because Shuton strikes me as someone that he ain't losing to no low tier, mid tier. You need to play a top tier to beat Shuton. You need to be playing one of the best characters in the game. Incineroar's not like that, but there's also not really a super notable Incineroar in Japan, at least on the level of Skyjay, but you can kind of say that about the entire world because no one's on the level of Skyjay. It is constantly over and over and over again. Skyjay should not be making this far. He should be losing. He shouldn't be doing this well with Incineroar, and he does. He just keeps doing it. He keeps proving me wrong. He might do it here. I'm still going to favor Shuton though because I feel like he's just one of those players that has no fear. He is a hardened veteran. He doesn't care if you're going to side B kill him at 50 because he's just going to play around it correctly with his character that has insane neutral being Aegis, of course. So I'm going to guess Shuton for that one. Then you have Tweak versus Shattuck, and the last time they played, it was destruction. Tweak did so well there. I do think that Corrin actually does decent versus Diddy, probably the best sword character in the game versus Diddy Kong, but I'm definitely still going to favor Tweak there. Sorry, my mic cut out there, but our next matchup is going to be Big D versus Meister, and on paper, you might favor Game & Watch here. Could be even, I've been seeing people say that lately, but I think I'd still favor Game & Watch here if I had to pick one, but the last time they played, Big D was able to beat him at Genesis 8, and Big D has been playing so hot as of late, and he's also someone that even if the matchup is slightly losing, he's winning -2 matchups. If a matchup is slightly losing, that's like heaven for him. And if a matchup is even, he just goes to town. And the last time they played, he went to town on Meister. And I'm guessing that he's going to do it again. But Meister could carry his momentum from Low Tide City into this weekend, maybe make the revenge comeback. But I'm going to guess Big D for that one. Then you have Light versus Shiny Mark. And on paper, I'm going to go with Shiny Mark here. Pikachu versus Fox is a really tough match for Fox. Really bad. I'd argue it's worse. It's definitely a -2. Pikachu does extremely well in it, so I would 100% favor Shiny Mark for this one. But Light is still a top 5-6 player in the world, even though we haven't seen him in a little bit. I'm sure he is still in practice and someone that is definitely up for competition, so it's not going to be a free win for Shiny Mark by no means, but on paper, that's definitely one that you would favor him in. And then finally, you have Gluttony versus Neo. Out of all the matches we covered, even from the other side of the bracket, this is the one I'm the least confident in, because I have no idea how Neo's going to do. I'm gonna guess that Gluttony wins it, but if Neo wins it, I wouldn't even surprise me at all because he is such a talented player. He's been doing so well as of late. It's like one of the biggest up-and-comers in the game right now. I'm just gonna guess that Gluttony, that hardened vet, he's gonna be able to close it out versus the Corrin. It's not an insane matchup for either side. You might even favor Wario in it, but I'm gonna guess that Gluttony takes that over Neo. And before getting to the top 24, we just have our winners quarterfinals match. Again, these aren't actually winners quarters. They're just the winners quarters to the winners quarters. But our first matchup is going to be Spargo versus Kameme, and if it's Spargo Kameme, I'm going to guess Spargo. But if it's Spargo Mutes, which it very definitely could be because this is like a 50-50 matchup, then you're going to go with Mutes there. You know, it is 3-0 in Mutes' record. Despite the matchup being losing, he is just so good at it that he just wins every single time. So maybe Spargo has that adaptation. On paper, you go with Mutes, and then on paper versus Kameme, I would definitely bet Spargo. Though, Kameme could still make that upset. Again, he is a ridiculous player. Edge guarding with Sora is a huge thing that you can get away with. So, not an easy win for Spargo by any means, but I'm going to guess that he takes that. Then you have Sonics versus Shuton, and I'm actually going to go with Shuton here just because the amount of Sonic experience he has versus Ken, as well as Aegis doing very well versus Sonic. That's one of the few matchups in the entire game that could be considered losing. I still think it's even. Some people think it's losing. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because compared to other characters, Aegis just does better versus Sonic, and we've seen Sonic struggling against Aegis in the past, even though he has been some of the best Aegises in the world. I think Shuton can definitely make that upset. Then you have Tweak versus Big D. Now, this one's kind of cut and dry. If it's Diddy Kong versus Ice Climbers, Big D wins. But it won't be Diddy Kong versus Ice Climbers. It's going to be Sephiroth versus Ice Climbers. Really tough matchup, and I'm going to guess that Tweak takes that one. And then you have either Light or Shiny Mark versus Gluttony. And if it's Shiny Mark, I think Gluttony should do that because he is insanely good versus Pikachu. Like, I don't know if he's ever lost to ESAM. I don't know if he's ever lost to Neros. I'll check that after this, but Gluttony is ridiculously good versus Pika. And for Light, they usually go back and forth. I think Gluto did win the last time they played, though, so you might favor him there, but honestly, this is such a coin toss that's really tough to predict, so I'll just go with the seeding and say that Light takes it, but honestly, that could go either way, but if it is Gluttony Shiny Mark, then I would favor Gluttony. And now, after all that talk and speculation, we have finally arrived at the top 24. Again, this tournament is unreal. We're not even going to bother looking at the losers bracket because I can almost guarantee you that this is not what it is going to look like because there's going to be so many upsets at this tournament. But the winners bracket, it could definitely look like this, so we will take a peep. You have Aquila versus Riddles as our first matchup, and this is one that Riddles struggles in a lot. He hasn't been able to take a set of Aquila yet. He's come close a couple times, though, but I will say, I think if Riddles wins this set, he probably wins the tournament, but it's very likely that Aquila is going to take it. So I'm going to guess Aquila there. Then you have Leo versus Mia, and this goes two ways. It either goes the more likely way of Leo just runs over Mia, he destroys him. Aegis does very well versus Game Watch. He also has Byleth, who does pretty well. I think Joker does decent. And he has a ton of experience versus Meister, and he bodies Meister, but that could be the thing that hurts him because Mia and Meister have different styles of Game Watch. They're different players. So Leo, he might be reading too much into what Meister would be doing instead of what Mia is doing. Pick the wrong habits, not see things happening clearly. And he might lose because he has so much experience versus Meister that he isn't able to adapt to Mia fast enough. Is that likely to happen? No, he's probably just going to be really good at the matchup and destroy. But it's not impossible that Mia takes it. Then you have Spargo versus Sonics. It's probably going to be Aegis versus Sonic here, and I would definitely guess Spargo, just because even though Sonics has done in the past, I think he beat him at Genesis last, Spargo usually wins this. He's very good at the matchup. He also, again, Aegis, one of the few characters that Sonic actually might struggle against, so I'm going to get Spargo there. And then you have Tweak versus Light, again, at a major. I don't know how many times we have to have this matchup, but we're having it again, and it's a coin flip. Again, this is probably the most coin flippy matchup in Smash right now. It's either this, Tweak Light, or Tweak Spargo, or not Tweak Light. Tweak Light, Tweak Spargo, and Light Spargo. I mean, it's just kind of that three trifecta. You have no idea who's going to win any of those sets, so I'm not even bothered. But just know, one of them gets top 8, and the other one goes probably against Spargo. So again, the coin flips just continue even into the top 8. Now, we are going to be moving on to the top 8, but if I had to pick 3 players that aren't seeded to make top 8 to actually make top 8 of this tournament, I would pick Yoshidora, Onin, and Dabuz. We'll start off with Yoshidora. He's kind of self-explanatory. He has a lot of things going for him. He's playing an unorthodox character with an unorthodox playstyle, and even if you're able to figure out all of that stuff, he's probably still just better than you at the game. So Yoshidora has a lot of stuff going for him, but it's also going to be his first time traveling to a major event outside of Japan, so jet lag could definitely be a big factor, maybe unused to how American players, or rather Canadian players, are going to be playing, so that might throw him off, but I still think he has a chance to make top 8, both through winners and losers. Then you have Dabuz. Dabuz, I just believe, if he played like he did at Kagadibi, I heavily believe that he's going to make top 8 this tournament. He just looked so incredible there, and I really think that he can do it again. Dabuz, he's back. I'm on the full Copium train. Old Dabuz is back. Again, even a little bit of that Kagadibi playstyle, and he can 100% make the top 8. And finally, you have Onin, who is definitely the biggest wildcard of this tournament, because we haven't seen Onin at the major level since Let's Make Big Moves, but all the regionals he's been going to, he's just been winning. He has not lost a single regional. I think he's only lost like one local throughout the entirety of 2023, and the only other tournament he lost was Let's Make Big Moves. Like, Onin is still crazy. He's still potentially a top 10 player in the world, and he's still someone that could top 8 a major of this size, even though he hasn't for a little bit. And here we have our top 8. And just to really show how stacked this tournament is, out of the top 8 players in the world, 8 of them are in the top 8. This is your top 8. These are all the players that are probably going to be guaranteed for the top 10. Everyone else is kind of up in the air, so it is just insanely stacked, this tournament. And our first matchup in the losers round 1 is going to be Riddles versus Mia. And Mia usually won that in Japan, but, maybe Riddles, he's on the home turf now. Maybe he takes it. He did take a set off him at Delta 4, so it's not impossible, but just based off of what the majority of the time happened, you're going to want to go with Mia there. Then you have Sonics versus Light, and this is kind of the same thing. Light rock Sonics. He has not, I don't think, dropped a set to Sonics yet. He's been doing very well in it, and again, that's one of the few matchups that Sonic might actually lose because Fox does pretty well in it, so I'm going to guess Light for that one. In the winner side of bracket, you have Aquila versus Leo. Now, after watching their last set, you're going to guess Aquila 100%. But also, you would have said that about Leo after you watched the LSI set. The only times these guys have played each other, they have owned each other. And I'm going to guess that Leo has finally done his research. After Leo beat Aquila, he explicitly said, you know what, I didn't even know the Steve matchup. I was just better. I'm pretty sure that he knows the Steve matchup at this point, and I'm going to guess that he takes that big upset. Then you have Spargo versus Tweak, and again, such a coin flippy matchup, but I'm going to guess Tweak. We haven't seen Tweak in a little bit. The last tournament we saw him at was going to be Summit, which is like it's not really him being not absent of tournaments. It's just there hasn't been too many tournaments. I mean, we saw him at KawaiiCon as well, which he did win, by the way. But I'm going to guess that Tweak has been cooking something up, and he actually takes that set. Even though Spargo is coming hot off Kagalibi, maybe he's able to watch those VODs, exploit something, and I'm going to say that Tweak gets that big win. This isn't just because I want Tweak and Leo in the winners finals. Trust me, I just think that Tweak's going to take it. In losers quarters, we would have Mia versus Spargo, and based off their set at Kagalibi, I'm definitely going to go with Spargo here. He just looked very strong in it, as well as having a ton of experience versus Meister. Then you would have Aquila versus Light, and Aquila did win the last time they played, and he's just playing so hot as of late. I am going to guess Aquila can take it, but I think Light can definitely make that upset. He's done in the past. He's a very good player versus Steve, despite the matchup being so bad for Fox, but I'm still going to stick with my guns and say that Aquila wins that. Then here you would have Spargo versus Aquila, and Spargo should win that. Aquila becomes a worse player when he plays versus Spargo. He just does. It is so evident that he is not super comfortable in the Cloud matchup. It's also probably Steve's worst matchup as well, so I don't super blame him, but unless Aquila has figured out something massive like Super Brain Blast Breakthrough, you're going to guess Spargo there. Winners Finals, you're going to have Leo versus Tweak. Sorry for the mic cut, it happens all the time, but for Leo Tweak, I'm definitely going to go with Tweak here. On paper, Diddy Kong does great in every single matchup that Leo has. Again, I'm predicting that's going to be solo Aegis for this tournament, but even if it isn't, even if the Joker, the Byleth comes out, maybe the Nene Knight, Diddy Kong is still doing well in all those matchups, and Tweak has also just beaten Leo, I think the last 3 times they played, so you're definitely going to want to favor Tweak there. And in the losers finals, it's Spargo Leo. Spargo did win the last time they played at Major Upset, but Leo also did very well in Major Upset. He took a set off Spargo with the Aegis. That was kind of the first tournament. He was super tryharding solo Aegis with, at least in a little bit, because obviously he was doing it in the past, but it seems like Major Upset was kind of the tournament where it was like, yep, I'm fully back to Aegis. So I'm still going to go with Spargo, even though Leo's Aegis is probably much more polished just because he looks so solid at Kagalibi. That losers one was incredible for him. But again, it could go either way. Any of these winners finals sets, any of these sets in this entire tournament could go either way. But for the grand finals, you have Spargo versus Tweak. I'm going to say that Spargo wins the first set, but that is all he gets, and Tweak wins Battle of BC 5. And I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry that this one was a little bit more scatterbrained, but we just had so much to talk about, and I didn't want to waste too much of your time, but I thank you guys for watching. Sport's been absolutely unreal. Again, this tournament is so incredibly important. Whoever wins this, it determines the best player in the world. There's so many runs that we didn't even talk about. If there's a player that I left out, and there's highly likely that I did, please let me know down below. I'll be sure to tell you how I think their run is, but yeah, that's all I have to say. Watch Battle BC. It's going to be amazing. Thank you guys for everything, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.